Hi everyone, it's Adam here from Ads Productions, and this is the review of the Steelseries Rival 3 wireless gaming mouse. Let's get right into it. First off, when you take this mouse out of the box, when you put the batteries in, it does actually have more of a weight to it than I was expecting. And this, in my opinion, is always a good thing, because when you have a heavier electronic product, it does give you that impression that it's a more premium product. I know that's not always the case, and it could have weights added to it. I'm not saying that's the case though. I'm just saying the heavier the tech product doesn't always make it better. But for my preference, I quite like it when the mouse is a little bit heavier, because it feels like there's more traction on the mouse pad, and gaming just becomes a little bit more comfortable. If you're looking for a mouse that has all of the illumination in every part, this might not be what you're looking for. However, if you're looking for a subtle illumination, this is exactly what you should be looking at, because the only place that it illuminates is on the scroll wheel. Some of you may like the more minimalist approach to RGB, and some of you may not. This is just something to bear in mind when considering a mouse like this. So looking directly at the mouse, on the left hand side you have two buttons, which can obviously be configured, but on the right hand side you don't have any buttons. So moving on from the left hand side, we have a center button, which is normally used to control the mouse sensitivity, and then you have the scroll wheel, which of course can be pressed as well to act as a button, and you also have the two left and right, as in total of two left click, right click mouse buttons, pretty standard. On the flip side of the mouse, as in underneath, you have three different sections where the mouse will make contact with the mouse mat or mouse pad or desk, wherever you put it on. You also have the sensor in the middle. It's more towards the center bottom of the mouse instead of smack bang in the middle. And just to the left of that you have the Bluetooth mode, you have off, and you have 2.4G. Basically these are the different ways that you can connect the mouse. You can either turn the mouse off, which would mean moving it to the center. You can enable Bluetooth mode, which means basically moving the toggle to the top. And you can enable the direct connection via USB by clicking on the 2.4G, which basically means it's going to talk to the little dongle that comes with the mouse and use this as a preference for wireless connectivity. What I do like about this mouse is that sometimes when you have a wireless mouse, for whatever reason manufacturers choose to reduce the size quite heavily. However, this one seems to be a very similar size than the standard wired mouses, so you don't really have to worry about, oh, my hand's going to be too big for this mouse, is it not going to be comfortable? Because I've got quite large hands and I've used a few Steelseries mice over time, and I've definitely found that this mouse is just as comfortable, so there's no issues there. It would have been nice to maybe have a few of the extra buttons on the right hand side that we've seen from other mice, but I do understand this is a cheaper mouse in comparison, so not all the features are going to be there. A few RGBs really isn't the end of the world for me if they're not there. I'm perfectly content with not actually having any RGBs. I know that might sound like a crime to say, but for me and my usage I don't really care about RGB. But you may, so hey, just bear that in mind. It's really cool that you can literally slide the back off the mouse and then put the adapter or the dongle into the mouse and cover it up, meaning that when you want to travel with this mouse, you literally can just hide away the dongle, then unclip the back of the mouse when you want to use it again. Makes things very tidy, and it makes sure that you don't lose that dongle for months or years to come. I have no reason to doubt the 400 hours of battery life that it says you can get out of this mouse. However, that's obviously dependent on the batteries that you use and how heavy you're using this mouse. For example, if you're constantly using it and you're changing the sensitivity and always triggering the RGB lights and clicking for days, you're going to have less of a battery life capability than you are if you use it for light web browsing. So on a day-to-day use case for this mouse, what did I actually use it for? Well, most of it was actually working from home, to be honest. It wasn't gaming. And I did like the fact that it goes into kind of a power save type mode, that when you don't use it for a while, you actually have to click to re-enable the wireless, so it's not always there, if that makes sense. So for example, you go and get a coffee, you come back after certain times, you do have to click the mouse button once in order to reconnect the mouse, as it seems. It doesn't disconnect the mouse entirely, it kind of just puts the connection to sleep until you click again, and then you can resume using your mouse. Like I said, Comfort wise, it was absolutely plumb normal compared to the other mice that I've used in the past. There is a slight texture to this mouse. It's like a matte feel. It's not a rough feel by any means, but it's not a totally smooth finish like you can get with some glossy mice that basically are fingerprint magnets. This is not a fingerprint magnet because I've used this mouse for hours on end, and I'm looking at it now as I record this video. It's perfectly clean. There's no fingerprints or smudges on it at all. Let's say you want to make the mouse as light as possible. You can actually take out one of the batteries because it does only seem to use one at a time. This is great obviously for performance if you want a lighter mouse. However, most people are just going to stick 2 batteries in there and let it do its thing. When one dies, flicks over to the other. When they both die, you replace them. So for those of you that want to know a bit more about the technical specs, I'm going to go over them very briefly for you now. The number of buttons this mouse has is 6, 2 on the left, 1 center button, that's 3, left and right click, that's 4 and 5, 6 being the scroll wheel push down. It uses a Bluetooth and an RF wireless interface, so obviously you can connect via Bluetooth to a laptop or PC if it has it, or you can use the dongle for RF wireless. The hand orientation is right-handed. The sensor make and model is a Steelseries TrueMove Air. The sensor's maximum resolution is 18,000 dpi, and it weighs around 3.74 ounces. While it doesn't have all of the RGB in the world on the mouse, you can still use the Steelseries engine very effectively. So first of all, we have the ability to change the button actions. So all 6 buttons are listed. You can change exactly what it does. You can change the scroll up and scroll down action as well as any macros that you choose to have associated with this mouse. If you would like to use Bluetooth, which I'm currently not, you can change all the settings in there as well. There is the option to configure the mouse sensitivity levels from level 1 to level 5, and this is the CPI counts per inch when you press that middle button on the mouse. For example, the middle button doesn't always have to increase the CPI. You can change the different levels and the different CPIs to whatever you want. You can have it go in a wave, or you can go in a steady decrease, a steady increase, whatever you want to choose. In the Steelseries engine, the settings to change the battery saver settings are there as well. You can choose to put the mouse to sleep after 1 minute of inactivity or 20 minutes of inactivity. Is up to you. You can also do things like extend the mouse battery life with high efficiency mode, automatic settings, you can enable that. There's also the option to enable smart mode illumination, which basically means when you're using the mouse, the illumination doesn't appear on the mouse. However, when you stop using the mouse, it will start to glow with the settings that you've chosen. The polling rate can also be adjusted, as well as the acceleration and the deceleration. On top of that, you can do the angle snapping settings. Overall, what do I actually think about this mouse after everything that's been said in this video? First of all, we have the design. The design is great. It's a right-handed mouse. It's heavier than I thought it would be, in a good way. You do have the option to take a battery out to make it lighter. However, it's definitely heavier than its wired counterpart. I don't see this as a negative, but some may. Just bear that in mind. Secondly, the lack of RGB may concern some people. Personally speaking, I don't really mind that. Having a little bit of subtle illumination sometimes looks better and more sleek than having it heavily loaded with RGB. Again, opinions are opinions. The lack of a button or 2 on the right hand side is also going to annoy some people. And yes, this is probably something I maybe would have liked. However, this is a budget mouse. You have to save money where you can. And having 2 additional buttons on a mass-produced scale is going to cost money, so I understand why that's chosen to be removed. I really do like the fact that you can take the back off the mouse and put the wireless dongle in, close the back, and you have a portable mouse, because that's how I've been using it. Put it in my work laptop bag, take it out, plug the dongle in. It just avoids losing that dongle, because everyone's done that. You lose the dongle and it's like you've lost the mouse. Performance-wise, you're going to buy this mouse not for the very cutting edge of performance technology with a mouse, but I can safely say I've used this for at least a week of work and I've not noticed any issue. In fact, I did really like the power saving mode that I've been using, where I walk away from the desk, I grab a coffee, I have a talk to a co-worker, I come back. Oh, why is my mouse not working? Oh yeah, that's right. You click the button and it springs back into action. This will extend the battery life very much so. To be perfectly honest and transparent, I didn't do a whole lot of gaming with this mouse. There was the occasional game of Call of Duty, there was the occasional game of Civilization, and there was the very occasional game of Rocket League. I didn't really notice a substantial improvement or a decrease in improvement. However, one less wire on my desk was a massive bonus. When I've used certain mice in the past, having 2 buttons on each side, I did occasionally press the buttons by mistake. And I suppose that's one upside of having less buttons on the right hand side, is that there's less room for error when pressing these buttons by mistake. And I have to say, there were times when I was using this mouse that I would have accidentally clicked the 2 buttons if they were there. So, pros and cons. I think that if you remember that this is a budget mouse that's supposed to be similar to its counterpart that's wired, that has less RGB and less buttons, if you go in expecting that much, you will not be disappointed with this mouse at all. Very comfortable to use, looks great on a desk, you can use it with the Steelseries engine at a budget cost. What more could you ask for, really? Yes, there is the lack of being lightweight, because obviously you have to have some weight somewhere when you're adding a battery, but they do their best to counteract this by allowing you to use one battery at a time, although not always recommended for the overall battery life, but it can be done, and you probably will find yourself experimenting with the battery usage. Overall, this is a really great mouse for the price. Sturdy and did the job, very comfortable to use, anti-fingerprints, looks good, RGB on the front, subtle and sleek. It's not going to give you that little bit that you need to win that competition, but it's going to make your setup look cool, and you'll be happy with the purchase. This has been Adam from Ads Productions with the review of the Steelseries Rival 3 wireless gaming mouse. Thanks for watching.